If your daily huddles kind of suck right now and you want to make them better, this video is for you. Maybe you feel like your daily huddles are a waste of time and you want to make them more effective for your team.
If that sounds like you, then keep watching this video because we're going to share 5 tips to make your daily huddles more effective. These tips are going to help keep your meetings short and sweet to help your team stay focused and productive.
Plus, we're going to share commonly made mistakes that prevent your meetings from being effective and what you can do about it. So grab yourself a coffee, grab a snack, and let's get into it.
Hey guys, I'm Mike. Welcome back to our channel where we share tips and best practices that are going to help you level up your small business. So if you want to take your small business to the next level, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell so you never miss a future video.
When it comes to daily huddles, sometimes people can feel like, ugh, another meeting. And if done the wrong way, they can feel like yet another meeting, a waste of time, or an interruption. So if your meetings are lasting longer than 15 minutes, they're not a daily huddle. You want to keep them max 15 minutes long, and we're going to share some tips to help you do that. So if you're doing daily huddles the right way, these can have an amazing impact on your business. Mike, tell us why.
Sure, I'd love to, Christy. Daily huddles are a great tool to use to make sure we keep our teams focused and aligned. And let's dig into that a little bit. As business leaders and team leads, it's our jobs to make sure that everybody on the team stays focused on the most important things to move our goals forward. And this is a daunting challenge that we face because it takes a lot of discipline and consistency to constantly be checking in with everybody to make sure they're not going down the wrong path. That's where the daily huddle can really help. It's really great when you start a new quarter or a new project and you have a kickoff meeting. You bring everybody together, talk through the motivations of all the goals, how you're going to achieve those goals, and what success looks like once you have achieved them. Everybody comes out of these meetings usually really excited, motivated, and ready to get to work. The problems start to arise 2-3 weeks past those kickoffs when everybody starts dealing with the fires and the distractions and all the challenges in getting the daily work done that they lose sight of the bigger picture, and sometimes alignment starts to wane. We follow the Rockefeller habits. This is our business methodology of choice, and the daily huddle is really important to this for this exact reason. It helps you drive execution. If you haven't heard of the Rockefeller habits, we would highly recommend you check it out. There's a book called The Rockefeller Habits, pretty aptly named, that is a really easy and enlightening read. We'll link it down below. There are really 3 key benefits to doing the daily huddles. The first is that it forces everybody every single day to reevaluate what they're working on, remind themselves of the bigger picture, and make sure that they're doing things that are aligned to get them to that end result. And then they have to come and bring these top priorities every day and share it with their team and you. And that's where accountability starts to be built. And that's the second key benefit of doing daily huddles. Having to share this with the team makes people want to execute on these things because they don't want to be the ones that have dropped the ball. And that is a really strong motivator for accountability. And the third key benefit is for you. You can watch the team and identify bottlenecks. You want to start removing any blockers that are holding your team back that you can take away from them. This will help make sure that they can stay focused on the most important things and that your execution is going in the right direction. These 15-minute huddles are a small investment of time that are going to pay off big for you in the long run. So let's get into our 5 tips for making your daily huddles more effective.
Great points, Mike. Tip number 1 is to have your daily huddles at the same time every day.
Having your daily huddles at the exact same
Ready for our stand-up?
time.
It's time.
Guys, what do you do? I'm trying to film some YouTube. Having the same time of day every single day for doing the huddles is a really great tactic to make sure you actually follow through with this new discipline. It will help you build the habit, which will lead to that discipline that you need to make sure you're doing these every single day. It also helps the team plan around the daily huddles. If you did this ad hoc, people would have meeting conflicts or they'd forget and they would just stop happening really quickly. But everybody knowing the exact time of day these are going to happen allows them to not schedule things at those times. And with that habit being built, they'll just know that they have to be prepared to come and do the stand-up at that given time.
Keep in mind that just because you're doing these at the same time every day doesn't mean you have to do these first thing in the morning. When we started doing daily huddles, we thought, we should do these first thing in the morning. And it worked for some people, but it doesn't work for everybody. So feel free to experiment and find what works for you and your team. For some people, it works best in the afternoon, for others later in the day. And if you have teams or people working in different time zones, you may need to do this asynchronous asynchronously, for example, over Slack. And if you have to do them async, keep watching because we're going to share some tips on how to do that. Tip number 2 is to have a KPI.
KPIs, or key performance indicators, are really great tools to make sure that the work you're doing every day is having the impact that you expect. And having a KPI that's discussed in the daily huddle is a great way to keep everybody focused on that top goal and to make sure that the things that they're doing daily are having the impact. It validates the work that they're doing. It lets them know that either they're on the right track or maybe they need to rethink what they're focusing on because it's not having the impact that is needed. The KPI that you choose for your huddle really is dependent on the type of team that you're leading. For example, if you're a sales team, you might want to talk about your revenue targets for the quarter or how many calls that have been booked for that quarter. If you're a marketing team, you might want to discuss how many leads you've brought in towards your goal for the quarter. Or if maybe you're the social media department for your company, you want to talk about the engagement of your posts and see if those are in line with what you're trying to achieve. So having a KPI in the daily huddle is a great way to keep everybody focused on the top goal and to validate the work that we're all doing together.
And don't feel like you have to stick to that KPI forever. You may want to adjust it. If you get feedback from your team members that they don't really feel that it resonates with them or they don't feel that they can directly impact that number, then you may want to experiment and come up with a metric that motivates people. You want something that will drive the behaviors and the results that you want out of your team. Tip number 3 is to have a cop for your daily huddle.
A cop, you might be asking yourself? We were too when we learned about this technique, but this is a really important responsibility to make sure your meetings stay on task and don't go on tangents and get dragged down into the weeds. Hey, you two, take that offline. Hey, get out of the weeds over there. How you do? This is an important role to have in your daily huddles to make sure that they stay short and sweet and don't devolve into long conversations. Because if they do, that's when people are going to start complaining about the time they spend in their daily huddles. It's important to note that oftentimes people will identify topics they do need to discuss, but they shouldn't discuss them in the huddle. They should make a note to follow up afterwards. Take that topic offline and circle back and have that discussion with only the people who actually need to hear it. And it's so easy to ask a question and fall into this tangent during the meeting, and it's the cop's job to step in and say, hey, you got to take that offline, or go discuss that later after the meeting, or let's stay focused on the top priorities. Because if you don't have that person policing the meeting, it will fall off and people will start to complain. We ran into this problem, hence we started using the cop.
And pro tip, choose someone who's very disciplined to be the cop. Someone who's very organized, very accountable, not afraid to inject themselves in the conversation when someone's rambling and talking forever and it's going into the weeds. So you want someone who can inject themselves and say,
enough rambling, Christy, get out of the weeds.
Okay, you're right. But just really quickly, make sure that the cop is not the manager. Oftentimes it's the manager that gets pulled into the weeds. And it helps with that peer accountability if it's someone else on the team. Okay, next tip. Tip number 4 is have an agenda or a template for your daily huddle.
If you've researched daily huddles at all, you've probably come across a typical 3-question agenda. And this is the agenda that we started using as well. But over time, we made a tweak to our agenda that made our daily huddles even more effective. And stay tuned because we're going to share that tweak with you soon. But first, let's go through that standard 3-question agenda. The first question you should start off with is, are there any victories from yesterday? And this is a great question to lead with because it helps everybody remember that yes, we are making progress. Sometimes you lose sight of the fact that you're making little wins throughout your weeks and your months, and calling those out at the daily huddle helps make sure everybody feels positive about the work that they're doing. The second question is, what is your top priority? And this is the main question. This is what forces everybody to come prepared, do that bit of thinking before the huddle, make sure that they remember what the goals are and that they're aligned with them and that they're picking the most important thing. This is not your 5 top priorities. This is your top priority. This is the only thing that you accomplish for the entire day. You will have had a successful day. So make sure you go around and ask everybody for their top priorities. Then you go on to the third question. What are your bottlenecks? Are you stuck on anything? This is where us as leaders get a chance to help our teams execute even better by removing anything that's blocking them that we can do. There might be things that they have questions about, or there's some work that they are trying to do that someone asked them to do that's not that important, important. You need to step in and make sure that you answer those questions, remove that work, remove any blockers, because if you do, then your teams will be able to execute that much better and you'll have a better success achieving your goals.
Now, we followed this agenda for a while, but what I realized after a while was that we were missing something. I couldn't really keep track of if people were actually getting done their top priority, and sometimes people's top priority would be the same thing day in, day out. So we introduced a new question. Introducing new question. So we introduced the question after the good news. What was your top priority yesterday and did you finish it? And we found that after asking this question, we realized that some people were actually getting stuck on their top priority, or they would get derailed into something or dragged into the weeds on fires or emergencies, and they wouldn't actually get done their top priority, and that's why it would become the top priority the next day. So by asking this question, it helps identify early on if people are getting stuck.
And keep in mind that your daily huddles don't actually have to be a meeting. You could do these asynchronously. If you have members on your team that are in different time zones and picking a time of day that works for everybody is really challenging, then a close second to doing this live is an actual asynchronous update. We have teams at our company that have to do this. And for us, it looks like dedicating a Slack channel to that team for doing their huddles and giving them all a template to use, those 4 questions that we have shared, and have them fill that out every single day. Then you as a leader can go in there and review them and still have the benefits of making sure that people are focused on the key things and that they don't have any bottlenecks that you need to step in and help them with. I would be cautious though, this is a second to a live stand-up meeting. A live meeting forces everybody to be present and hear everybody's updates, and I think that's a stronger driver for accountability. It's really hard to make sure that everybody does go through the channel and read everybody's updates other than just posting them. So if you can do this live, I would prefer that you were able to do that. But definitely do it asynchronously if that's your only option. This is definitely a close second.
Tip number 5 is to find a balance. Through trial and error, we realized that it didn't really work well for everybody to have a daily huddle. For some teams, it works well having it every other day. So feel free to experiment and find what works best for you.
And to figure out what is going to work best for you, it's important to check in with your team as the leader and ask them questions to see if this is actually being effective. Are they getting value out of these daily stand-ups? Do they feel like they're picking better things to work on? Are they getting blocked less often? Or are they getting help when they need it? Getting these answers will help you understand what value the team is getting out of it and maybe how to change and tweak it so they are getting the value that you expect. But be very careful when you start asking the team for their input because you might start just getting pushback. People sometimes don't like having to do these daily huddles because they don't like the visibility that it puts on their goals, or maybe they don't like that accountability that we talked about earlier. So you have to take their input with a little bit of a grain of salt. But generally your teams will enjoy doing these daily huddles because they will see the benefits to them and they'll see how it drives their execution. So there you have it. There's our top 5 tips for helping you have more effective daily huddles. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. And if you want more videos that will help you level up your small business, subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a future video.
If you need a tool to help you manage your projects and tasks as a team, check out Daylite. We'll include a link below where you can start your own free trial. And remember to leave us a comment below. How long do your daily huddles normally last? If you want more productivity tips, make sure you hit us up on Facebook and Instagram.